Elasticity. We know that as the price goes up, demand is going to fall. But how much? How big is that really? People selling stuff do want to know this. They want to know, hey, should this go on sale? Does it make sense to drop the price? It all depends on elasticity. If a small drop in the price can create a large increase in the volume sold, that will increase revenue. But if a drop in the price means only a small increase in volume, then that could end up decreasing revenue. Or vice versa, if the business raises the price, then yeah, sales volume will drop, but how much? If a higher price means just a little bit lower sales, then that was good for revenue. If a higher price means a lot fewer sales, then that was bad. A company can go right out of business by raising prices. Now, of course, for many businesses, this is a complicated question. There are a multitude of different outputs. Maybe a sale on coffee will increase sales of other food. But we'll concentrate right now on the single item. That's complicated enough. And while it's useful to think of the question, should the business put it on sale, there are some goods, such as wine, where there might be regulations against that. But still, businesses have pricing power. They want to decide how to set prices and where they can make money. It's about elasticity. How much do sale volumes change when prices change? There are a lot of different influences. Some products, like medicines, are vital. They're not really dependent on price. Maybe caffeine is a medicine. But again, that's certainly not without influence at all. Demand depends on income. Poor people might have a lower demand for something even if they need it. You sometimes see signs or buying like diabetes test strips from people that have those and need cash. But vital products are going to be less responsive to price. They're inelastic, is the phrase. Other products are more discretionary. People have a choice. They carefully look at the price. For instance, going on vacation. Generally, elasticity is higher when people have more choices. So if we talk about the effect of a price change, we have to differentiate whether it's one business raising its price or many businesses. If one coffee shop raises its prices, then people might exercise their choice to go to a different coffee shop. If there's one just on the other corner, it's easy. But if coffee beans all get more expensive, then it's likely that most coffee shops will raise prices, and that means less impact to each one. Generally, in the markets where we're discussing, there are lots of choices. But if climate change means that coffee beans get more expensive, then all coffee drinks will have prices rise. Now, some places might swap out the type of bean. There are lots of gradations of quality. Some stores might decide that maybe a $1.99 price point is important. They'll use lower quality beans. Which kind of is a price increase, since if a person wanted to keep buying the same quality of coffee, they'd have to pay more. Some consumers might choose a smaller size cup or cut back on how many trips they make each week to the coffee shop, or not go to the fancy place, instead go to the lower quality place, maybe make coffee at home, maybe switch to tea or energy drinks, or decide it's a good time to ditch the caffeine entirely. From our discussion of opportunity cost, coffee at home is cheaper in terms of money. It does have a greater opportunity cost. It takes time to make, takes time and good executive function to purchase ingredients ahead of time. Plenty of students will usually make coffee, but around final exams decide to buy it because they just have, their time has a greater opportunity cost then. During finals exams, every moment counts in terms of your grade. So this all gets to the basic idea that people don't just buy an item, they're buying the convenience. In marketing, they talk about the 5 P's: product, price, promotion, place, and people. Place is certainly important. Most consumers don't buy a bottle of water because they lack water at home. They buy it because it's offered at a convenient place and time. Drinks are more expensive at the movie theater. Elasticity depends on the availability of other factors. Lots of alcoholic beverages are sold in restaurants. That's a major distribution pathway for many sellers. So if restaurant meals get more expensive and people go out to eat less, that can change their consumption of, say, wine. They might be more likely to just get a glass of house wine and not pay a bit more for the fancier brand. Now, this relationship could be positive or negative. For example, alcohol generally is often consumed along with cigarettes. So as cigarettes get cheaper, people smoke more, they will also tend to drink more alcohol. Cigarettes and alcohol are complementary goods. On the other hand, cigarettes are a substitute for coffee. They both help people feel more awake. So as cigarettes get cheaper, people might drink less coffee. Elasticity also depends on how large a budget item is in the household overall budget. For most of us, the cost of housing, rent to own, or is the largest budget item. If your rent goes up 5%, that makes a big difference in your overall spending. Whereas if coffee gets more expensive, that's not really a big difference in monthly spending. A 5% increase in coffee price, maybe a $2 cup of coffee becomes $2.10. If you buy a cup a day throughout the year, you're spending $6.50 more in a year. That's easier to deal with. Now, elasticity can be different over time as well. Classic example, cigarette smoking. Once people get addicted, they're not very sensitive to price changes. But you know who is price sensitive? Teenagers who are just starting the habit. That's where price differences have an impact. And part of the reason that onesies are illegal. But, lots of other consumption items have certain similarities. They're not addicting, but they can be habitual. Somebody decides to try getting a fancy coffee at a new place. They decide they like it. They start to go regularly. Once they got the habit of stopping every day on the way to work, they're less price sensitive than the person who went in the shop for the very first time. This is why businesses often offer sales or discounts to new consumers. They want people to get into the habit of coming there. They want their staff to be really nice and remember your order. They want to develop customers who are not as sensitive to price. Anyway, how do we calculate elasticity? There's a simple formula. Elasticity is the percent change in quantity divided by the percent change in price. But then again, we can't keep it simple. We've got to dirty it up in all sorts of different ways. The price change the percent change is the change divided by the original level, which we can notate as, say, delta Q over Q for the change in quantity divided by quantity. That's percent change. And delta P over P is the percent change in price. Later, we'll have other elasticities, so we might divide by something other than P. Got to mind P's and Q's. Bad joke, sorry. As I said, we're going to dirty up these formulas even more. They end up looking really ugly, the sort of ugly that only a mother could love. Percent change is quantity divided by percent change in price. That's easy to write out. Notate that as percent delta Q divided by percent delta P. Okay, that's not too bad. Expand so percent change is delta Q divided by Q divided by delta P divided by P. That's an improper fraction. If you remember from algebra class, make it a proper fraction. That's delta Q over delta P times P over Q. Now, part of the power of the concept of elasticity is the equation works both ways. We can often think of it, what happens to quantity when price changes? That was our original question. If the thing goes on sale, what happens to the amount bought? But elasticity could also work the other way. What happens to price when the quantity changes? Suppose, some hurricane hits Honduras, which provides about 6.5% of global supply of Arabica coffee beans. What would we expect to happen to coffee price? Well, studies show the demand elasticity of coffee is around -1, so a 6 or 7% decrease in quantity would imply a 6 or 7% increase in price. If you've seen news items about possible impact of, say, tariffs, that's using the elasticity estimates as well.